Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million eons. Now we are able to hear, study and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Now, we will teach the words of my perfect teacher. In the words of my perfect teacher, we discuss relying on spiritual teachers. In relying on spiritual teachers, we discuss how one should study the teacher's wisdom, mind, and conduct. In the process of relying on teachers, because teachers possess virtues, wisdom, and compassion, then we as followers should receive these transcendent virtues from our teachers. Therefore, studying the Dharma and especially practice is very important. Now, many people consider themselves Buddhists or practitioners, but sometimes we might be practitioners only in name. For example, the main criterion for Mahayana practitioners is determined by whether one has bodhicitta in their mind stream. We often hear teachings on bodhicitta. I also frequently teach to different groups of people about the merits and benefits of bodhicitta. For me, I can say I'm a teacher and transmitter of bodhicitta, and many people might be listeners of Mahayana Dharma. But are we really practitioners? As the saying goes, one knows the taste of water when drinking it. We should understand whether we have altruistic mind in our mind stream. This is a very crucial point, so there's nothing particularly worth being proud of, thinking oneself as a true Mahayana practitioner. If we don't even have bodhicitta, which is required for Mahayana practitioners in sutra tradition, then the so-called yogis of Tantra or practitioners of the supreme great perfection, whether we can be called such, one must pay attention to this. I may have mentioned before that nowadays in society, many people say preliminaries don't necessarily need to be practiced. They're unnecessary. Many people ask me, and I say not practicing is also fine because among samsaric beings, everyone's spiritual capacity is different. As for creating karma, we have no way to prevent it. When Buddha Shakyamuni was in this world, so many people of the Shakya clan were killed by King Virudaka, but even the Buddha had no way to prevent it. So we don't dare to say absolutely that you must practice the 4 or 5 preliminaries, but generally speaking, I especially hope many people should progress gradually and enter the Dharma in a systematic way. This way at least one won't damage one's foundation. For all of us in large groups to be sharp faculties, persons would have some difficulty. We often read the biographies of past great masters. Their level of reverence for preliminaries and the words of my perfect teacher was extremely high, previously when Guru Rinpoche was alive. He indeed placed considerable importance on the words of my perfect teacher. At that time I also heard that many people could memorize this treatise. Also, I remember Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. Later, when he was approaching parinirvana at such an advanced age, but he would read a few pages of the words of my perfect teacher every day without interruption until his parinirvana. It's said that even a few days before his parinirvana, he continued reading. His habit was generally to practice first every morning. After completing his practice, he would read some every morning. I often used to think, we later students should learn from him. He was such a figure who became at the end of the 20th century in our tradition of Tibetan Buddhism like Penor Rinpoche, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, Dujom Rinpoche. They were all the greatest, whether in India or in Tibetan areas, the greatest masters, if they all placed such importance on preliminaries. Do we later students have such realization? Indeed, I often think about this. I also hope all of you here should learn from him, whether in the future in your daily life. Just like him, treat the words of my perfect teacher as a book of life, a handbook for life. In our lifetime, whether a few years ago, 10 years ago, or 10 years from now, if I still place special importance on preliminaries, I believe at least your mind stream will accord with the Dharma. Although in front of others, you may not necessarily always say, I am now enlightened, I am a great practitioner of great perfection, great middle way, and Mahamudra. You don't necessarily always call yourself that, but at least many of your actions will be constrained by the karmic laws of the Dharma. So today I again hope all of you here should think in your hearts, regardless of whether, because Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, wherever he went, always carried the words of my perfect teacher with him, never separated from it. To any country, he always brought this Dharma text. So if such a true great accomplished master, a true great practitioner, an eminent monk of a generation, a master of a generation also placed such importance on the words of my perfect teacher, I think what reason do we have to look down upon this teaching? There's no need. Now some people often ask me saying, in such and such place we pay some money. Today, I received some phone calls saying pay some money, don't practice preliminaries, and directly receive great perfection instructions. It's said to be from some teacher's lineage and also corresponds to the intention of some particularly recognized great master. They ask me if it's okay. I say it's fine. Anything is okay. Paying money is fine. Not paying money is also fine. Anything is fine as long as one receives the Dharma. I said this, and I also have no authority to stop others. But actually, in my heart, I don't know. Masters like Rigdzin, Jigme Lingpa, Venerable Longchenpa, Mifam Rinpoche, and other great masters, they all placed great importance on preliminaries, not just once or twice, but practiced them many times. In that case, can we really use money to achieve this? Now, many university students' diplomas and certificates are obtained through paying money. I used to know a person from Belgium when he was studying for a medical doctorate in China. Basically, in 4 years, he only needed to take 4 exams. First pay the money, after paying the money, just take the exam once. And finally, the certificate was obtained. Actually, the exam wasn't very important. Money was important. Without money, no certificate. Even without passing exams, the certificate could still be obtained. So will the true great perfection become like this now? I don't dare say, and you shouldn't say I said this. This doesn't mean one won't get it, won't have lineage. That's not what I mean. But I indeed have some doubts. If one can truly receive these instructions, then of course I would rejoice we all might. Those with money basically can receive some supreme teachings without much difficulty. But in the biographies of many great masters, this wasn't found, though perhaps it doesn't need to be found because technology is now quite advanced, plus some modern methods in this way. Many things might be easily within reach just by spending money. Perhaps if we don't value this now, decades later, it might easily come in abundance to our mind stream. There's this possibility I previously read about someone who was also a disciple of Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, who is now also very famous in Western countries. In June 1999, in San Francisco, California, USA, he transmitted the words of my perfect teacher to a center. He said at that time, in my lifetime, the words of my perfect teacher is the teaching I value most. I hope 30 years from now, if I'm still alive in this world, I'll still be like this. I have previously received transmissions more than 30 times, just from Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche alone through his own personal request. He received it 5 times. When the teacher was teaching to other audiences, he also received it 5 times. From Dudjom Rinpoche, he also received it 3 or 4 times. Thus, plus what he received from other teachers, he had previously received it more than 30 times. After I saw this introduction, I thought in my heart, actually, if many of us truly merge our minds with the content of preliminaries every day, there should be progress in practice. If we throw aside the teachings in the words of my perfect teacher and then seek elsewhere for more sublime, profound and mysterious teachings, perhaps one can obtain them. Each teacher's instructions, lineage and pith instructions are different. Moreover, the manifestations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are inconceivable. We should also understand this point. But generally speaking, for people like us, it's best to never separate from preliminaries like the words of my perfect teacher and the way of the Bodhisattva. These are truly very beneficial pith instruction books for our mind stream. As I just mentioned, I very much hope all of you here should have confidence and always carry this Dharma text. Carrying all the commentaries on the words of my perfect teacher would certainly be difficult, but carrying the words of my perfect teacher book wherever you go should not be very difficult. Now, many people going out, tourists, carry especially large backpacks, so the words of my perfect teacher is not that heavy. I saw a couple of days ago some individual Dharma friends came to the academy. The backpacks they carried were really extraordinarily large. If all these things can be carrying the words of my perfect teacher is also possible if one has faith. Without faith, no teaching can be obtained. It should be mentioned in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, if one has no faith, it's like having no hands. Without hands, it's impossible to take treasures from a treasure mountain. Similarly, without faith, it's the same. If one has faith, entering the treasure mountain of Buddha Dharma has no difficulties. So we have a kind of faith. The power of mind is very strong. With faith, even the most difficult things can be accomplished. So one is through one's own faith, placing importance on the words of my perfect teacher or the instructions of my teacher, Samantabhadra. This point is indispensable today. Here I also remind again to see if anyone can make a vow to read a few chapters of the words of my perfect teacher every day throughout their lifetime. Actually, among Han Chinese fourfold disciples, I've encountered a few individuals before. 10 years ago, we taught it, transmitted the words of my perfect teacher in 1999. Since then, this Dharma text has always been carried with them. Reading some every day. There are such extremely few masters and lay practitioners. These have long-lasting faith and patience. But some of us can manage for 2 or 3 days. After I speak today, perhaps if I asked everyone to raise hands today, 80% of people would start raising their hands saying, I will carry the words of my perfect teacher book every day, after another 2 or 3 days during vacation. Not 2 or 3 days vacation, don't think that. Too soon. After 3 or 4 more months when vacation comes, it might be forgotten. So making vows is easy for us, but implementation is difficult, actual practice is very hard. So I hope throughout one's lifetime to value the words of my perfect teacher. On this foundation, whatever practice you do should be very convenient. Otherwise, there are many profound pith instructions within. When I teach, sometimes I worry whether you will truly comprehend the meaning, whether you will truly integrate into it, whether there is such a thing. If your mind is scattered at the time, if your wisdom doesn't truly enter into it, it would be very regrettable. Within are some very profound pith instructions. In the future, frequently contemplate them in your life. Frequently compare them with yourself. Then you'll know, oh, this is truly all treasure. Within every sentence and word cannot be abandoned, cannot be given up. All are priceless, wish-fulfilling jewels. One should feel their excellence and meaning. So just on the principle of relying on teachers, I'm also sharing with everyone on one hand, my own experience from many years of studying Buddhism on the other hand, seeing how great masters and patriarchs value preliminaries. In this way, many people here should understand the profound principles within some simple language in Buddhism also. Sometimes without guidance is very difficult to understand thoroughly. So our purpose in relying on spiritual teachers is also like this. Like treasure in darkness, without lamp cannot be seen, it should be mentioned in the flower ornament. Sutra, like treasure in darkness, without lamp cannot be seen. Dharma without someone explaining. Even the wise cannot understand. For example, there is a precious jewel in a dark room, but without light. It's pitch black, completely invisible. Similarly, the Dharma is extremely profound. Even some seemingly simple principles within, if no one provides guidance, no pith instructions to point out, even if your worldly wisdom is extremely superior, you may not necessarily understand the truly profound meaning within. So our purpose in relying on spiritual teachers is also to understand the principles of karmic acceptance and rejection. After understanding, practicing personally is the basic requirement of practitioners. Now continuing next. When sublime teachers uphold bodhisattva conduct and accumulate vast merit and wisdom if one also joins their ranks, even if just with the motivation to offer humble material possessions or doing some things within one's capacity with body and speech, even including rejoicing in mind as shared practice, then depending on the Great One's supreme motivation, whatever virtuous accumulation is obtained, one similarly obtains the same amount. This is when sublime teachers are practicing bodhisattva conduct. They accumulate vast wisdom accumulation, for example our usual Dharma transmission, or as mentioned in some classics before, including printing scriptures and so forth. These are also part of wisdom accumulation. Merit accumulation is building some supports of the three jewels, halls, and also releasing life, doing some virtuous activities. At this time, if one can join in, participate in this, even if you don't have abundant resources or material wealth, even extremely insignificant, very humble material offerings into this, or if you don't have this aspect or are unwilling, but with your body and speech, body motivation, speech praise, even usually for the teacher's great activities, making phone calls, sending messages and so forth, speech-related things, and if unwilling to do these, then in one's heart generate a portion of rejoicing mind, joyful mind, a kind of happiness without jealous mind. In this way, encompassed by the teacher's supreme bodhicitta, whatever merit he obtains, one similarly obtains this passage. I think I remember when we were building the nuns' main hall this year. At that time, some individual benefactors kept requesting to provide some account numbers. Later, they also asked me to write a simple situation at that time, although in terms of funding, building the hall should have no difficulties. But if some individual Dharma friends also rejoice in this, I think with so many monastics, teaching and expounding Dharma every day, hearing, contemplating and meditating every day for each person, it might also be an opportunity. At that time in the letter I included this passage, I think last year. Now our hall has been completely finished, also relying on everyone's joint efforts. Such a large hall also had no obstacles whatsoever. Everything has been completed, which is very worthy of rejoicing. This also couldn't be accomplished by one or two people. Some Dharma friends might generate intention from body, speech, and mind aspects. Finally, it should be completed, and when completed, everyone has a joyful mind. Not only our hall here or in any place, any virtuous deeds done by spiritual teachers or all great bodhisattvas, some are done collectively, some are done individually. Regardless, as long as it benefits Dharma propagation and benefiting beings, we should try our best to eliminate jealousy, arrogance from our mind stream, or this kind of selfish mind. Using these virtuous acts to promote oneself or show off, these have no value or meaning whatsoever. If one truly provides some convenience for monastics and sentient beings, especially for their mind streams, to temporarily and ultimately obtain the benefit of true liberation, this is what any of us should strive to do. Here it also mentions that any spiritual teacher, His Holiness, Jigme Phuntsok, also taught before. He often, the old master, whether building halls in our academy or building stupas elsewhere, releasing life and so forth, when teaching about these merits, we also try our best sometimes when we have the ability to help. If we don't have the ability from the heart, contemplate a moment of joyful mind. Actually, this is also very convenient. This kind of merit continuously before these great bodhisattvas' virtuous roots are exhausted. It will also not be exhausted. Here an analogy is given. In the past there were two people who went to Lhasa together. One person had no other food except for a small amount of bean flour. They should be two people at that time when Patrul Rinpoche was in Zachuka. Probably many people from that region when going to Lhasa would bring some tsampa provisions. Besides this, at that time, many people didn't have other things like money or other things. They should not have had them if one person only had bean flour. Pea flour made into powder, that kind of flour, he put the small amount of bean flour into the other person's abundant fine white tsampa and mixed them together. He was quite clever. He brought relatively little. The other person traveling with him brought barley flour, which is tsampa. He brought quite a lot, probably a large bag. At beginning their relationship was also quite good. Then they said, shall we put all our provisions together and use them together? At that time, that person also agreed after a few days. The person with lots of tsampa said to him, your bean flour should be almost finished, right? Now you should stop. You shouldn't eat anymore. Let's go see if it's finished. Then the two people went to look. As a result, they found the bean flour still wasn't finished because it had just been mixed with the tsampa. They looked several times like this. The bean flour never was exhausted. They kept looking. It was like throwing a drop of water into the ocean. Finally, they had no choice but to finish eating it together with all that Sampa. There was no way. They ate it together, mixed together. If they went to court, they couldn't win either, so they finished it together. This analogy is the same, no matter what virtuous deeds others do oneself. Merely through a little material, wealth or physical and verbal labor creates good connections will also obtain equal virtuous roots. Here it's also like taking advantage if the teacher spent a lot of money to do something oneself without being stingy. Also like adding a small amount of bean flour, contributing a few cents like this when the time comes before this teacher's, these great masters' virtuous roots are finished until the fruit of Bodhi, it will never be exhausted. What we usually say, a drop in the vast ocean, indeed a drop of water in the ocean before the ocean is exhausted, this drop of water also completely merges with the water's nature as one, impossible to separate. Similarly, so we here should know in the future when true great masters, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas do some great Dharma propagation and benefiting beings' activities oneself also participates bit by bit, slightly, then dedicate the merit. Dedication is very important. This point we've read Sutra of 100 Actions, Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, and Century of Noble Deeds in many classics after doing a virtuous deed, for example. Today I made some offering, or today I prostrated, circumambulated, and so forth. After completing these virtuous deeds, immediately make aspirations and dedicate. Actually, aspiration and dedication, so-called dedication, means he created a virtuous root. Then the merit of this virtuous root is given to all sentient beings. Aspiration doesn't necessarily have a fixed virtuous root, but one continuously thinks in one's mind, may I become such and such, so dedication can also contain aspiration. The combined meaning of aspiration and dedication should also exist, so one's own aspiration and dedication are very important, especially regarding teachers and spiritual masters. Temporary assignments or errands, even including cleaning the teacher's residence, are all proper paths for accumulating merit. One should do them with full effort, whatever the teacher assigns or requests to go somewhere. Do something, these should all be done wholeheartedly with full effort, even cleaning and so forth. These also have great merit. Previously, it seems in the Kadampa school there was Geshe Jayulwa, a disciple of Geshe Chengawa. He was usually particularly obedient when he was offering mandala. If the teacher called, he wouldn't say, let me finish the offering first, then I'll come. He would immediately stop, put it there and go. If he was writing, when the teacher called something, he would immediately stop. He wouldn't say, let me finish writing, then come, wait a moment. He wouldn't say that he would carry water for the teacher, make fire and sweep the floor once when sweeping out garbage. It seems he put it in his clothes, preparing to dump it outside at this time. While he was going down the stairs, he suddenly entered samadhi, meditative concentration. Then in the pure vision, he directly saw many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. From then on, he became a great accomplished master. So the teacher's some simple activities actually also have extremely great merit. Previously, Sakya Pandita Kunga Gyaltsen, once when serving his root teacher Jetsun Drakpa Gyaltsen when he was sick, during the process of helping him, because of the teacher's blessing power at that time, he had already met Bodhisattva Manjushri face to face. From then on, our region's famous Sakya Pandita, called one of the three great Manjushris. He also initially met Manjushri through this kind of auspicious connection obtained in the state of generating reverence toward the teacher. In Nagarjuna's Panchakrama, the first is the stage of self-blessing. So here, it mainly teaches, I don't know if there's a Chinese version, it seems there isn't in the language. This scriptural reference is often quoted Yongzin Yeshe Gyaltsen of the Gelug school. He composed a commentary on offering to the Lama. This commentary quotes many scriptural references. I've read it. Inside it says, everything depends on the teacher's blessing to obtain enlightenment. In this regard, it explains many principles. So we should usually serve our teachers in our daily practice. But some people might think, for example, a teacher has many disciples now, many people for the teacher's food and drink, for the teacher's meals, for the teacher's, for example, a teacher goes to a big city. This disciple also wants to host him. That disciple also wants to host him. Then the disciples start fighting among themselves. I heard before about an old teacher who went to a city as a result. Two factions of disciples. When the teacher just got off the plane, disciples from both sides pulled The teacher almost manifested parinirvana right there, because both sides pulled extremely hard. Later, another group's power was relatively stronger. They forcibly put the teacher in their car, then the car sped away. Such competition is actually not serving the teacher, actually. A true teacher doesn't necessarily have so much dust every day. All disciples go into the teacher's room, quarreling with each other, then sweeping. It's unnecessary. But I think if one truly wants to serve the teacher doesn't necessarily have to see it. Oh, when you see me, I'll sweep the floor for you, carry water when you can't see, just sleep soundly. It's not like this. The best method of serving the teacher should be directly or indirectly propagating the Dharma, practicing oneself or benefiting beings. These few, I think, are for the teacher the best service, the best offering. Truly material offerings to a true teacher, especially a teacher with bodhicitta in their mind stream, his livelihood certainly won't be so lacking. Material offerings aren't necessarily required, nor is it necessary for everyone to be in his room all the time, or when the teacher comes, you must offer the food in your hand to the teacher and refuse all others. These are all not very reasonable if everyone has this opportunity, everyone together. If there's no opportunity, what the teacher likes is practice. For example, you read a book. Truly, sometimes we all especially hope everyone directly or indirectly for beings, for the Dharma do some beneficial things for beings, especially pitiful beings. Some pitiful beings. If we go help them, then any spiritual teacher who truly possesses the qualities throughout the 10 directions will be delighted. So here it teaches that even sweeping and such things are all very good ways of serving the teacher. In Treasury of Precious Qualities it also says this: those determined to practice virtue. When the excellent teacher accumulates vast dual accumulations therein, all can create good connections. When the teacher accumulates vast merit, create good connections with this assignments, errands, cleaning, and so forth. Extremely laborious yet fruitful, excellent path of accumulation, assignments, errands, even sweeping and so forth, doing some meaningful or some things for the teacher, all have results, all have merit, and are also excellent paths of accumulation. As refuge and the supreme merit field for accumulating all merits, there is nothing more excellent than the teacher. Actually, all refuges also gather in the teacher. Sincerely taking refuge in the teacher is the most ultimate refuge. There is such teaching if we take refuge in the teacher with this mind, sincere faith. This is the most ultimate, especially when the teacher bestows empowerment and teaches Dharma, the great compassion and sublime blessings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and 3 times all merge into his mind. Stream thus abiding in a state indivisible from all Buddhas. So hundreds and thousands of offerings at other times cannot match the merit of offering a mouthful of food at this time. Because when teacher transmits Dharma and gives empowerment, the blessings, great compassion and wisdom of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions all merge into him at that time, regardless. The teacher's wisdom, mind, or the teacher's essence is indivisible from all Buddhas. I've mentioned before in Chagme Rinpoche's Mountain Dharma, it says when the teacher gives empowerment and transmits Dharma, if the teacher is truly a great accomplished master, needless to say, even if not a great accomplished master, the teacher is an ordinary person, but if an ordinary person, the blessings and wisdom of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions all merge into him. Then after finishing teaching the Dharma, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions each return to their own pure lands. So when teaching scriptures or giving empowerment, although the teacher is an ordinary person, but because of the power of Dharma, the blessing power of Dharma is quite great. So naturally, all Buddhas of the 10 directions merge into his body at this time toward him. We can indirectly understand that toward any Dharma teacher, while teaching scriptures and expounding Dharma, slandering him, generating ill will and wrong views toward him. In this case, the fault is also quite great. If one generates faith, generates joy, and makes offerings to him, in this case, this merit is also very great. So this scriptural citation has already said that even an ordinary Dharma teacher, but when teaching Dharma, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, all merge into his body. The 50 verses of Guru devotion also says, when the teacher gives empowerment, Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions all come before him to pay homage and give empowerment. Some commentaries say that transmission of Dharma can also be understood indirectly in this way, so at this time making offerings also has great merit. But when the teacher transmits Dharma, having many food offerings is not necessarily beneficial for the teacher sometimes. The teacher may not necessarily be able to consume these foods. So I think among true offerings, as we discussed that day, offerings that don't abandon beings, offerings that don't abandon bodhicitta, offerings of constant practice, and also generating motivation for the teacher's beneficial activities. I think this is particularly important, for example, if there are many truly wise, stable people around a teacher and also experienced people in various aspects to generate motivation, then the teacher's activities naturally unfold. If the teacher's activities unfold, actually the purpose of the teacher's presence in the world is Dharma propagation and benefiting beings. Besides this, a true spiritual teacher cannot possibly be for his own livelihood or survival. What is the purpose of worldly people's presence in the world? Oh, buy a house, buy a car, then have a family in the family, renovate the house well, after renovating well, have a stable job with a stable job, often go traveling outside. Or if conditions permit, go abroad to wander around. All these are considered the purpose of life. But these actually, as a true spiritual teacher, he might not consider these things as matters at all. In his eyes, in his mind, the most important thing is that beings are sinking in the three realms of samsara, if even one being can be pulled out. He feels that living in this world should be a kind of responsibility of life. It's like this. So at the same time, if we make Dharma offerings to truly connected teachers and spiritual masters making Dharma offering, in Dharma offering we should help his activities in the process of helping his activities. Some teachers might not have many people around them. He can often see, oh, you generate motivation for this, you generate motivation for that. He can often see it. But some may not necessarily comfort you every single day, but with a clear conscience, as long as you contribute even a little to the Guru's activities. Whether through physical effort or energy, this indirectly becomes an offering to the Guru. So I think what Patrul Rinpoche explains here is that offering food brings great merit. But food, I don't know, for many Gurus it may not be very important. Many Gurus live extremely, extremely well. So here it explains that visualizing all generation stage deities is the same. If you can recognize that although the form appears as a certain deity, its essence is actually none other than your root guru, then the guru's blessings can quickly enter your mind. If we visualize generation stage, generally visualizing deities, like reciting Manjushri mantra, Avalokiteshvara mantra, visualizing the deity, at this time this mainly explains, simply speaking, generation stage. So when visualizing generation stage, the forms can all be visualized as different ones, like Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, etc. For example, like in some Gelug practices, it explains, when visualizing the 35 Buddhas' confession, visualizing and reciting, visualizing 35 different Buddhas. But at that time, it requires visualizing the essence of each Buddha as inseparable from your root guru, just like one crystal emitting different lights. You should visualize them as inseparable. If you visualize this way, the Guru's blessings quickly enter the mind, receiving blessings especially fast. If you completely separate the deity and Guru, then you may not necessarily receive such blessings. So when Marpalotsawa was practicing the Guru's generation stage once around, Naropa appeared the entire mandala of Gurya Samaja. At this time he was asked, are you today seeking empowerment before the Guru or before the deity? At that time Marpalotsawa thought, the Guru is with me every day. This probably doesn't matter much. I can see him every day. But as for the deity, it's rare to see him today. So at that time he thought, he was a bit afraid, but had no choice but to say, I first seek empowerment from the deity. He added the word first, and then from the Guru, fearing the Guru would be angry. After he said this, the entire deity mandala completely dissolved into Naropa's mind stream and disappeared. At this time, Venerable Naropa also said before the Guru appears in the world, the name of Buddha also doesn't exist. All 1,000 Buddhas of the good Kalpa are my emanations. When he said this, he finally realized that actually the deity and Guru are inseparable, So when practicing generation stage, it's also visualizing the Guru. Many of us practice Avalokiteshvara, practice Manjushri. At this time, it should be inseparable from the root Guru. The form is the deity. Think this way. When cultivating completion, stage wisdom in the mind stream, it also completely depends on sincere faith and respect for the Guru, plus the Guru's blessings. Having devotional faith yourself, plus the Guru's blessing power, the wisdom realized in the Guru's mind stream will definitely arise in your mind stream. In practicing completion stage, generally we practice formless completion stage and with form completion stage, with form completion stage. Practices many methods of channels, energies and essences. As for formless completion stage, all the wisdom in the Guru's mind stream merges into oneself. This is one method. This method is the most definitive way of practicing deity yoga. So when we practice, we should first think the Guru is everything, inseparable from Buddha. This is very important. In the Sutra, Great Tantra King, Buddha also explains this way. The source of supreme great bliss is no different from all Buddhas. Through the Acharya, one obtains the supreme ultimate, because the source of supreme great bliss or selfless wisdom is actually that Buddha and Guru are inseparable. That is to say, the Acharya and all Buddhas are completely inseparable. This is obtaining the supreme ultimate fruition. Therefore, we should first know that all Buddhas and the Guru are inseparable. Only in this way can the wisdom in the mind stream mature. Actually, in China there is also such a story. Previously, at Mount Zhongnan, there was a monk called Dushun. Perhaps everyone has heard of him. One of his disciples had followed him for over 30 years. Once he really wanted to go to Mount Wutai to pay homage to Manjushri Bodhisattva. Then the master kept telling him, actually some people seem possessed and insist on leaving, then talking about the merits of various other places, this and that, not knowing what obstacles might arise in the future, completely unaware. Then he insisted on going. The master had already spoken many times, but he had already decided. There was no way. He said he must go see Manjushri Bodhisattva all the way to Mount Wutai. After he arrived at Mount Wutai, continuously, at that time it seems he said something. His master then said, wanderer rushing here and there to Mount Wutai, bowing to dirt slopes. Manjushri is just this, where else to seek Amitabha? His meaning is that as such a wanderer, if you insist on going to Mount Wutai, that's also fine, but at Mount Wutai actually your prostrations might just be to mountain slopes. The real Manjushri Bodhisattva is here. Where else to seek Amitabha? This was roughly the meaning of this verse. After saying this, he also didn't care. Perhaps the master was very angry. I don't want to stay by the master's side. He also didn't pay attention. Finally, at Mount Wutai, he met an elderly person, then asked him where he came from and what he came here to do. He said, I came from Mount Zhongnan, here to pay homage to Manjushri Bodhisattva. Later this elderly person told him, Manjushri Bodhisattva is not here now. He should be at Mount Zhongnan. He already knows. Your master Dushun, I don't know if he said this specifically. Later he was very regretful. He said, that's impossible. I've already followed him for many years. I just came from there. Finally that elder said, having eyes doesn't necessarily mean seeing the true nature. Go back quickly. If you're late, you won't have a chance to see him. At this time, the elder suddenly disappeared completely. He felt it was very extraordinary and quickly rushed back. One step too late, his master had already passed away. This is a rather famous story in China as well. So from this we can also see, of course here it says, Manjushri Bodhisattva is not at Mount Wutai. This can also be said for certain beings. Actually Manjushri Bodhisattva is everywhere. We should say there are many Manjushri Bodhisattvas at Mount Wutai, but for him we should say at Mount Wutai he couldn't see Manjushri Bodhisattva. His own root guru was Manjushri Bodhisattva. Previously in Master Tsongkhapa's biography, it also says one day it seems his disciple Kedrup he especially missed his master. Then, I forgot I think in Chronicles of Mount Wutai that I wrote 20 years ago, there is at that time he also especially longed for Manjushri Bodhisattva and made offerings. Later in Pure Vision it appeared saying Manjushri Bodhisattva, one at Mount Wutai, one at some place, is it Tushita heaven? There is also such a saying, I don't remember this story very clearly. So what was explained earlier about generation stage and completion stage, etc., the essence of all practices is included within the Guru. All sutras and tantras say the Guru is the true Buddha, including the Avatamsaka Sutra and many sutras of the exoteric teachings, the Lotus Sutra, etc. In these sutras, it consistently explains that the Guru is the emanation of Buddha or inseparable from Buddha. In the Treasury of Precious Qualities, it says this way, "What is the refuge and field of merit? Practicing Guru Yoga, inner and outer too. The essence of all generation and completion practices is encompassed in the Guru. Sutras and Tantras say the Guru is the true Buddha. The above has already been introduced. Therefore, the Guru's intention always abides inseparable from all Buddhas. However, in order to guide us, impure beings, to be trained, he manifests in human form." The Lotus Sutra also says, "A spiritual friend is a great cause and condition, so-called guiding transformation, enabling one to see Buddha, arousing Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi mind." The meaning is that spiritual friends are actually the great cause and condition for Buddhahood, are liberating beings. Seeing the true Buddha, arousing supreme bodhicitta, all depend on spiritual friends to obtain. Also in the Immaculate Sky Sutra, it explains about spiritual friends. Whoever sees a spiritual friend plants the seed of liberation. Previously, when our Guru Rinpoche was in the world, he often hoped that some beings would see him, because spiritual friends who possess bodhicitta in their mind stream. People who don't believe in Buddhism may not necessarily think this is reasonable, but for those who understand correct reasoning, truly, spiritual friends who possess bodhicitta in their mind stream. Whoever sees him, remembers him, contacts him, hears his voice, etc., all directly or indirectly become causes of liberation. Some, with karmic connection and sharp faculties, in a very short time sever the seeds of samsara and enter the path to enlightenment. Some beings with lesser faculties plant seeds of liberation in their mind stream. Then their virtuous roots mature and are nourished. Gradually in the future they will obtain liberation, possessing such power. So here it also explains that actually a true guru, his intention has no difference whatsoever from Buddha. Before us humans, he merely manifests in human form. We must wholeheartedly follow the teachings during the Guru's lifetime through the 3 types of service explained above. Make your mind and the Guru's wisdom become inseparable. The Guru's great compassion, wisdom, and your impure ordinary mind should become inseparable. Conversely, if during the Guru's lifetime you don't respectfully serve or follow teachings every day, slandering, every day finding faults, generating wrong thoughts, but when the Guru no longer abides in the world, you keep saying to repay the Guru's kindness, I'll paint the Guru's image, practice Guru Yoga, cultivate the ultimate reality, etc., then seeking other paths, painstakingly searching for other profound and mysterious dharma, lacking the sincere faith and respect to integrate the Guru's realization and abandonment qualities into your own mind stream and not making prayers. This is called contradiction between practitioner and practice. When the Guru is alive, you fundamentally don't follow the teachings. Truly beneficial things for beings you're unwilling to do, unwilling to get close, often staying away. Actually, many of us, in the process of following a guru, often have this situation when the guru is present. You're unwilling to do what the guru most likes, what the guru most dislikes, most detests, most disapproves of. Some behaviors you're very confident in. Then, after the guru departs, I want to practice the guru's image, repay the guru's kindness, print dharma books. Of course, these are acceptable on one hand, but on the other hand, if when the Guru is present you don't serve well, don't pray well, don't make the Guru happy and generate respect, but after departing from the world, you do these things actually. There's contradiction between practitioner and practice. The practitioner is the root of all practices. Practicing the Guru is very important, but if the Guru being practiced is not pleased, not accepting, if in the end you practice with the practitioner, it's fundamentally impossible to succeed. So generally speaking, when the guru is alive, you should serve yourself. This is very important. Many people don't necessarily have many opportunities to follow spiritual friends. Of course, for true following, actually when the guru is alive, some behaviors are also very important. If the guru is not present but truly benefiting beings continuing this motivation, continuing to fulfill the guru's aspirations, actually, this is also a kind of following behavior. This is one actually with the guru. There's another aspect which is prayer. This is very important. I see in the biographies of many great masters from Sakya, Kagyu, and Gelug schools, including many great masters from our Nyingma school. They often pray to their gurus. This is very important. I've also taught this. If you don't pray, although the guru is like a wish-fulfilling jewel, the qualities in his mind stream can be shared with countless beings with karmic connection. But without prayer, it's like before a wish-fulfilling jewel in the past. Without making prayers, it doesn't grant what is desired. For example, a computer in our present world, if we often use it, it can do many things. If you don't use it, although an excellent computer has various functions, but if we ignore all these functions and programs, it just remains idle like this. Therefore, although the guru is an embodiment of impartial wisdom and compassion, but as disciples, as receivers, often pray to the guru with a respectful mind. If you pray this way, the qualities in the guru's mind stream are obtained directly or indirectly. So in our journey to Buddhahood, we should rely on the guru, especially if we pray with respect. An invisible power naturally merges into your mind. At this time, after nourishing your mind, practicing any dharma becomes very easy, without afflictions. Someone said long ago, I met a lay practitioner. She said, my life can be summarized in one word. I said, what is it? It's fan, the fan of affliction. So if the guru's blessings truly merge into your mind, then this afflictive fan immediately disappears without a trace. There won't be suffering. It should be like this. To meet the guru in the bardo state, receive the guru's blessings and guidance, pointing out the path, etc., also requires your boundless, sincere faith and respect to unite with the guru's compassionate aspiration. Only then can such a realm manifest. In the bardo, we also pray for the guru to save us, liberate us. This also requires your boundless respect and the guru's compassion. This profound karmic connection must be complete. Of course, it's impossible for the guru to truly personally go to the bardo realm to meet each disciple. If the guru has many disciples every day, one dies today, one dies tomorrow, then the guru wouldn't have time every day just waiting in the bardo realm. If you yourself lack devout faith and don't respect the guru, then no matter how excellent the guru is, it's impossible to appear in the bardo realm to guide your path. If you yourself lack faith, then the guru appearing in pure vision is impossible. So I often think, for example, our pure mind toward the guru truly in this lifetime, often praying like this when encountering difficulties and obstacles, it often appears actually the karmic manifestations of good and evil through my own experiences. For example, dreaming in some manifestations, there are infallible responses. For example, when our body feels uncomfortable at this time, we often dream of ghosts and spirits, terrifying faces, then you'll definitely get sick. This often happens when your mood is also very good and many states of practice appear, the guru, deities, and many excellent visions, including some beautiful gardens in the world. These can all be dreamed. So sometimes with good and evil, indeed, the responses on our body can also be clearly distinguished. Hell beings, hungry ghost beings, particularly terrifying dreams. At this time, your entire body and mind condition is definitely completely chaotic. If every day we have Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, our lineage root guru, I have this kind of feeling when the entire body and mind are very pure and practice can also progress. So when we're in the bardo body, it's the same. If I often visualize the guru, pray to the guru, the various manifestations of the bardo immediately transform into pure phenomena. This explains, didn't we teach about the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities? If the cultivation of your mind truly recognizes your own mind, these 100 peaceful and wrathful deities all become deities. If our own mind hasn't transformed for the path, these all become yamas, executioners. They all become like this. So this is very crucial. Think carefully for yourself. there are still very deep principles of cause and effect here. In the Treasury of Precious Qualities, it also says this way: most fools paint images and practice when the Guru is alive. They don't serve, not knowing the Guru's intention. They practice the ultimate. When the Guru is present, they also don't practice according to the Guru's intention. Practitioner and practice contradicting, truly pitiful. Without faith, it's difficult to see the Guru in the bardo. Without faith, it's very difficult to see the teacher. With faith, in the bardo realm, you can also see various pure manifestations of the Guru. So when we're alive, or often why, before every practice, do we often practice Guru Yoga first, including before we sleep at night, reciting a Guru Yoga? All phenomena are completely within the Guru's body, speech and mind. After this, many states appear as pure. All right, we'll stop here.
Bandara Badna Sagarda Bandara Badna Sada Bandara Badna Sagarda